My wife really likes her Kawasaki Versys 1000, but she did mention that she'd kind of like to have a gear indicator because you don't always know without thinking about it what gear you're in. So I did a little digging and looked into putting a factory gear indicator in. And they're $200, which is kind of a lot. And then there's aftermarket ones for not very much money at all, 30, 50 bucks. The aftermarket ones calculate what gear that it's in by knowing the engine speed and the road speed or wheel speed. And I thought, well, the factory one just talks to the ECU and knows what gear it's in. Well, then I found out that the factory one does actually not know what gear it's in. It has to calculate. Well, at least that's what I read. That's what somebody said. So I did not buy the factory one. I bought a $50 aftermarket one. I couldn't find any information. It was tough to find the little bit that I did. I guess there's not a lot of them out there, or people aren't doing much to them. So there's not much to say. Anyway, I ended up getting the aftermarket one, and I had to figure out how to put it in because the information that everybody that I ran into, the information other people had put out there was for other bikes, like the 650, which is not the same, and for the older ones, which is not the same. So here's how you do it. Unfortunately, I didn't think to record this while I was doing it. So I'm going to tell you how without actually showing you all the nitty-gritty parts. Exactly. So these little plastic caps, you can get a slot screwdriver into these holes in the side and pop them out. And there's a 4 millimeter Allen head screw underneath this and the other one. And those capture these so that they can't come off. So if you take out that little Allen bolt, these things will unscrew all the way and let the windshield come away from the track. Be careful when you do it because there's this plastic slider and there's a plastic bit in here and this washer, and here's the back side of the nut, and all this stuff wants to fall and go run away underneath the bench and hide. So keep track of that stuff when you get that loose. Plus you have to hold on to the windshield. So be careful not to drop all those loose bits. Then this cover has these two 4 millimeter Allen screws, and then the little plastic buttons. You take the corner of a screwdriver or something that's smallish, and you press that center part in, and they release. So you pop the two little buttons in, and those rivets will come out.
So you push the center pin in, and then you can grab a hold of it and pull it out. Comes out, pushes in easy, comes out pretty easy. And then you can reset the little center pin just by pushing it back up, and it reinserts just like it was before. It's a pretty ingenious fastener.
When you get the two rivets and the two screws out, this whole plastic piece underneath here comes away, and there's 4 nuts that hold the 2 track bits to the frame, and it's all one piece. So you get this out of the way, then you can get the frame bit out of the way, and the rest of this gets pretty easy. And you'll need to take this side panel off, and 1 screw is all that holds it on. As a rule, I don't care for the videos where the guy's trying to do the whole job with one hand while he's holding the phone with the other, but if you get the 1 screw out, which again is on a 4 millimeter Allen head, the rest of this is just on rubber grommet push pin dealies. So if you kind of work it off here, there's 1 up there, there's 1 down below, and there's a couple in the back here, and the whole thing comes off. So there's grommet here, grommet here, grommet here, grommet here. And if you put a little silicone lube on these, when you get it off, it makes them pop off real nice in the future. Totally worth it. Even if you've just got oil, use that. Put something on there because then they don't stick. So the reason for pulling that off is you need to get this screw out. Oops, I need to take the seat off too. So the reason for taking the side panel off is you need to do a good job, you need to get this other side panel off, the big one. So there's this screw here, and this one here, and there's a rubber grommet dealie right in the center here. And if I remember right, oh, there is a rivet in there, but you don't need to remove this very far. All you need to do is get it out and just let it drop down a little bit because you're going to run the wire along the frame rail. So, so let's talk about getting the dash out. This whole dash panel, from down under here, this whole thing with the instrument cluster, that whole thing comes out. There's, like I said, the 2 bolts that you've already removed behind up here. And there is the screw that holds the side panel on, also holds the dash panel down. And then there's also inside here one more of these plastic buttony things, and you need to get that one out. Same deal, push the center in, it pops in, you can pull the rivet out, and then you just reset the rivet by pushing that centerpiece from the back all the way out. So they're reusable, so that just resets it for putting it back in the next time. So anyway, there's a rubber grommet right under in this area. Those 2 screws inside up the front there, and the 1 rivet, and this screw that came out with the side panel, and that frees the whole dash panel to completely come out and disappear. When you do that, there's a plug in this hole that's got a screw and a little clippy thing that holds it. So you undo the screw and it all comes out. And this guy, the one I got, doesn't have any fancy mounting stuff. It's all adhesive. So it's double-side sticky tape. And that's pretty much what holds it in there. But it doesn't weigh anything, and there's no reason for it to move. So that's probably adequate. So, and the cord's plenty long. There is a plug up here for the factory deal, and it's the same shape plug, but the wires are different. So I don't know, because I couldn't get a wiring diagram. I don't know if you can rearrange the wires and actually make the factory plug work for the aftermarket indicator. But the simple solution is to use the long wire and put it, you thread it through, do a nice job of running the cable where it won't get hurt. Leave some slack up here in the top, because then if you remove the dash, you'll have enough cable to do that. And you run the cable along the frame. There's a tray for all the electrical stuff. It's all in one big tray. And you can get the cable into the tray up front underneath the tank. You should take the 2 screws, these 2 screws, and just lift the tank up a little bit, and you can stick a 2x4 in there to kind of hold it up out of your way so you can see the rest. You can get the cable into the tray. You can take the tie wraps they supply and tie it off on the frame rail a little bit. Anyway, the cable goes in here, goes back behind the battery. Now there's a diagnostic plug that lives right there, and it's capped off. You pull the cap off, and your indicator plugs in there, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing else to do. Now, here's another bit of info. That other socket is for a lighter plug power socket. And when you have the dash off, you'll see there's a couple of plug connectors that are tied off to the frame, just ready for the factory power socket to go in. That's all great. Now on some of the bikes, they say you need to add an accessory relay to get power to that. Well, when I tested this one, it was hot. So I'm assuming you can just plug it in and go. I've put heated grips on this. By the way, Oxfords are one of the best ways to go. I used the factory power supplied for the heated grips, and again, it had power. I did not have to add an accessory relay. It already had power. All I did was just tap into it. So you can see this is all pretty darn easy to do, and doesn't take many tools. You need a 4mm Allen, 10mm socket, a small slot screwdriver would be nice, and that's about it. Some diagonal cutters to cut the tails off of the tie wraps when you're done tie wrapping things up. But anyway, yeah, it was one of the few things that this bike's missing. It's a gear indicator, and other than that, it's a really sweet motorcycle. Surprisingly nimble and confidence inspiring. My wife loves it. She's probably going to love the gear indicator too, because she doesn't know about it. She had a birthday, and I didn't tell her I was doing this. So the next time she gets on this, she might have a little surprise, and that'll be cool. So ride safe, ride a lot, have fun, make sure you're having fun, and we'll see you later.